Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Now, yesterday when they announced the rematch between Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr., the main support was also announced, and that is going to be between the American 35-year-old Franchon Crews-Dezurn, who is the undisputed super-middleweight champion, and she will take on none other than Savannah Marshall of Hartlepool. Savannah, we know about. Her last fight was against Claressa Shields. She lost a unanimous 10-round decision. I thought that was a close fight. I think you can even make a case for Savannah edging it by a point or two. Not many people agree with me, but I've watched it back and I think the heavier hands belong to Savannah. The slickness and the speed was definitely Claressa's. No problem with Claressa winning the fight, don't get me wrong. But I had to eat a lot of humble pie over that because I argued with everyone before that fight. Savannah Marshall will beat Claressa, probably by knockout. I wasn't overly confident about the knockout part because 10 2-minute rounds drives me up the wall, which is 20 minutes of fight, and it's not nearly enough for a world title. It should be 12 threes, just like the men. That's the meaning of equality, you see. The same thing. You give people the same chances, and therefore you give them the same responsibility to step up to the plate and show what they're made of. But she got out-slicked. There's no doubt Savannah would definitely benefit from longer rounds and more of them. But she got out-slicked, and Claressa, fair enough, she won a unanimous decision. Prior to that, by the way, she's 12 wins with 10 KOs, which is a very high ratio for a female fighter, knockout percentage. 12 wins, 10 KOs, 1 defeat to Claressa. She's also, she got rid of Famke Hermans in 3 rounds. She did Lolita Museza. Can't remember. I think that's the girl's name. She did her in 2 rounds. Maria Lindbergh got done in 3. I mean, Hannah Rankin, she got stopped in 7. So there are some, recognisable names, but a lot of them weren't at their peak. And there are some also, if you go back down through her early career, she was fighting girls with, like 1-6 records, and I think it's journey women like one had 3 wins and 25 defeats or something. So she did that, but then she jumps up and fights better girls, and along the way collected that WBO middleweight title, which she lost to Claressa. Now, if you look at Franchon Crews-Dezurn, she has also fought Claressa Shields, but she fought her when both women made their debuts over 4 rounds, 4 2-minute rounds, only 8 minutes of fighting. And Claressa won, supposedly whitewashed her. I just don't think that Claressa won all 4 of those rounds. I just don't. I would have no objection to that fight being a draw. I watched it live. And I was thinking, well, Claressa was being given the bells and whistles treatment. And I thought, who's this Franchon Crews-Dezurn girl? She's really good. And that's her only defeat so far, that in her debut. Since then, she's won 8 fights. And it shows the lack of depth, of talent in the women's game, because she's become a 4-belt undisputed champ in her next 8 fights. And last time out, it was she picked up the IBF and the WBA titles by beating Ellen Sederos, who, is she from Sweden? I want to say she's from Sweden. I think she is. Prior to that, she beat Alejandra Jimenez. I think that was for, I don't think she won those belts against her, but that was a pretty good result because Jimenez at the time was 12 wins, no defeats, and just 1 draw. And she's considering, the fact she lost her first fight, albeit to Shield, she's done well. She's been given opportunities, and she's made the most of it. And she's a very colourful figure, Franchon Crews-Dezurn. Very, very powerful, big-looking woman. I mean, you wouldn't want to have a row with her. Big hair on her, and she wears sort of garish clothing, big glasses, and she's very much out there, very much a character. I think she's originally from Norfolk, Virginia, and now she fights out of Baltimore, Maryland. She's 5'8", and although she's a very big 5'8", a very powerful 5'8", Savannah Marshall, 5'11", maybe touching 6 foot, a little bit under 6 foot. She's a very, very powerful girl. And there's no doubt that this is going to be Franchon Crews-Dezurn biggest opponent, biggest test since she fought Claressa in her debut. But Savannah, although she's campaigned at middleweight, she insists, well, you know, super middleweight is better for me. And I can believe that. She can probably make the middleweight limit without too much trouble. She's 31. 35 is the age of Franchon Crews-Dezurn. But Savannah Marshall, you know, 5'11", 5'11 and a half, whatever she is, super middleweight probably suits her better. And credit to her for jumping straight in with the champion. You know, she's got this. I think what she wants to do is pick up these belts and then try and lure Claressa into another fight up at super middle. And Claressa has fought at super middle, but no way she is super middleweight. I mean, against Marshall, Marshall looked more powerful, and you imagine that Savannah will put on those extra pounds at super middle and won't look remotely overweight. You know, she'll still have that sort of lithe, slender look about her. It'll be interesting to see who's got the physical strength capability here, because Crews-Dezurn, like I say, very sort of powerful and stocky fighter, and Savannah, you know, tall and sort of Amazonian. I mean, this is going to be a good matchup, I think. I think both ladies are orthodox fighters. Crews-Dezurn is a pressure fighter. Savannah, I mean, she's got that high knockout ratio, and she, yeah, I suppose you could call her a sort of box fighter. She likes to jab a lot. She's got that hands down style, that sort of Peter Fury style. I would probably not really want to hang my hands too low too consistently, because Crews-Dezurn will swarm you. I don't think Crews-Dezurn has got skills to match Savannah, but at the same time, she can outwork her if she gets close and she starts outworking her. And I think, to be honest with you, Claressa Shields did that in a lot of those rounds against Savannah. So, like I said, you know, if you've seen my videos before, I was absolutely convinced that Savannah would beat Claressa. I had to eat a lot of humble pie over that. But I do think that was a very, very close fight, and I've got no problem with someone who says they thought Savannah edged it. I've got no problem with someone saying they thought Claressa won either. But I don't buy into this idea that was a one-sided fight. I absolutely don't. I think the heavier hands, especially in the second half of the fight, were coming from Savannah. I think she rattled Claressa. And you can argue that Claressa out-slicked her. No problem with that at all. But this idea that Claressa won, you know, 8 of the 10 rounds, is, to me, it's a load of old bollocks. And I think she's going to have to be a lot busier, a lot earlier against Crews-Dezurn. I think she doesn't want to make the same mistakes that she made against Claressa. But this is a good fight. I think this is a really great fight for women's boxing. It's a good fight anyway, whether it's men or women, because the style matchup is so good. And I'm really, really looking forward to this. It could steal the show. I mean, I've got a feeling that, you know, you never know, do you? But Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr., that rematch, it might not be that exciting. I'm going to be picking Smith on points, which is what I picked in the first fight. I was really stunned when Smith got rid of Eubank so early. But this fight, I think, might steal the show. It's on Boxer promoting it. It's on Sky. So I'll be looking forward to that one. And that's going to be on the 17th of June of this year. So it's not that far away. Not really. You know, a couple of months. And that, you know how time creeps up. So what do you think of this fight? What do you think of these fighters? Who do you think is going to win? What are your first impressions? I never really do predictions until it gets close to the time, because, of course, circumstances can change and things can, you know, you can hear things, little training niggles and so on, and you can hear perhaps someone isn't having a great camp. And so I'm going to save my absolute, you know, I'm not even going to mention who I think is going to win this one. But what do you think? Do you have any first impressions? What do you think of the fighters? What do you think of the fight? Leave your comments below, as always. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Please hit the subscribe button. It just takes you a second to hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel a great deal. And of course, hit the like button as well. That helps us out too. So thanks for your time, as always. You take care of yourselves, and bye for now.